Hey, and welcome to the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea Podcast, an adulting advice podcast production. I'm Dani Sheriff, and this is the place to come if you care about getting your period regularly. This podcast aims to educate, inform, and keep you motivated on your period and HA recovery track. Let's dive in. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the, what is it called? Hypothalamic Amenorrhea Podcast. Sorry, I have two podcasts, so I'm like, which one are we on? I am here with Amber Fetzer Broderick.
Yep.
Crushed it. I wasn't even looking at it that time. I just knew it. And we're going to share a story today. Amber's going to tell it, but she went through HA and she also had a baby at the end. So it's a very encouraging story, I'm sure. I don't know. I haven't heard it. I'm excited to dive in. Welcome, Amber.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries. I'm super excited. This is like one of the things I'm most pumped about is just get on the calls, sit back and listen to the story and probably ask probing questions, but I'm sure that's fine.
Ask all the questions you want. As all the girls that I coach, like I'm literally an open book.
Awesome. Exciting. So, kick it off. I'm sure you've told the story a few times to some people. So where do you want to start?
It dates back to when I was in high school. So I was a little bit overweight. I decided, okay, senior year, I'm going to be, the skinny pretty girl and lose weight. How did I do that? I now know I did it in a very unhealthy way. I cut out carbs, fats, dropped probably about close to 25 pounds.
So you just ate protein?
And vegetables, yeah.
Right.
And that was about it. I became very, very restrictive with food. I dropped about 25 pounds in the course of just the summer. So that was about 2 months off of school. Went back high school and was like my lowest weight ever. And senior year was actually when I lost my period. And I didn't think of anything of it. Living this lifestyle then continued through college, post-graduation, and then all the way up until the time that I wanted to have a baby and I couldn't. So I don't know. How did I get myself into that mess? It was, like I said, being very, very restrictive with food. Like food and exercise consumed my life. It's all I thought about. It's those were, oh my God, they were such dark times. I missed out on so much of my life because I didn't go out with friends. The fear of drinking was scary. Having a slice of pizza was scary. All things that I would look at other people and envy. I'd be like, oh my God, they could just eat it and move on. Like, why can't I do that? What is wrong with me? And then it was in college when I started binging. And I didn't understand what was happening. I was like, I don't get it. I'm good all day long. I was eating probably anywhere from 900 to 1,200 calories. And I was like, but I'm so good and I'm so healthy. And
right.
I craved things like carbs and very dense caloric foods and fats. And I could just remember going ham with cereals and ice cream and peanut butter. Feeling
So a binge at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was usually in the evenings after restricting all day. And this continued for quite some time.
Can I ask, was that, you got to a point where you were doing that every night, or you were being perfect, quote unquote, for a week and then binging on the weekend, or what was your pattern?
No, that was happening almost every night of the week. Because I would go, like I said, all day long, eating my vegetables and my salads and my grilled chicken and things like that, thinking I was being super healthy. And then at nighttime, it was like my body was revolting back and just being like, no, girl, you're going to feed me and I'm going to force you to feed me. Mm-hmm, so obviously, in my research that I've done on my own, being in a calorie deficit for so long, your body will force you to eat something.
Yeah. And isn't it amazing?
It's so amazing. The body is incredible. And it's obviously going to be very dense foods because it doesn't know when you're going to feed it again. And it has to learn to trust you.
Yeah.
So
I
Yeah.
resonate with that so much. Is like this, because when you look back, once you get through recovery, which obviously we'll get to, you sort of look back on those binge episodes and you're just like, I cannot imagine doing that right now. And it's not because, oh, I learned like mindfulness and I know how to avoid it. It's like once you stop restricting your food, that goes away. And what I couldn't imagine back then a time where I would not, like on Saturday night, go to the store and buy like a tub of ice cream and eat a whole pizza and do it. Like, I was like, this is just going to go on forever.
Yeah.
And then when you release it and you know you can do it anytime and you're eating enough calories every day, the desire to do that becomes minus 100. It's really fascinating. Okay, go on.
Definitely. When I got to that point in college where I was having those episodes, I would cry. I would be like, what is wrong with me? I would pray that like, I want to stop. Like, I don't want to keep living like this. I didn't know how to not. And the thought of allowing myself to eat whatever I wanted when I wanted was not happening at the time. Like, I was so afraid of, what most women are afraid of, weight gain. Like, society has these very boxed in strict standards of what women need to look like. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to fit that ideal because I thought that that's what was going to get me, a husband and a good job. And like, I needed to look this way because that way equals success. But I couldn't be further from the truth with that. So going back to just the allowing yourself to actually eat the foods that you crave and not having this good versus bad mindset when it comes to foods, because food, let's get this straight. Food is so much more than fuel. Like, it's community, it's culture, it's pure enjoyment. And in the dieting realm, we take away, associating food with enjoyment. And like, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy going out with my husband on ice cream dates and, letting our daughter take a lick and things like that. And I knew, like, setting myself up for pregnancy, I always wanted to be a mom. And I knew I needed to get my mindset and my relationship with food and exercise under wraps before diving into becoming a mom, because I didn't want that my relationship with food and exercise to hold me back from being the best mom that I could be. I didn't want my daughter to come up to me and be like, oh, mom, can we bake cupcakes? Or, can you want to lick the spoon and taste it too? And, have me having thoughts of like, no, that's going to make me fat, or no, it doesn't fit my macros. Like, what would she think?
Mm-hmm.
So healing my relationship with food and exercise took time. It took a lot of work. And honestly, it was a lot of mindset and shifting the way I thought and viewed foods, my body, and exercise. I viewed exercise as a way to continuously keep burning calories. I was never present in the moment. I was always, needing to go for a walk or needing to be moving, needing to be shaking a leg, because any bit of extra movement I thought was going to help me burn calories, which was helping me lose weight, which was helping me look skinny so I could look pretty. And that is just no way to live, like, at all.
I know.
So I don't know if I could go off on like so many tangents. So if there's
I love it. I freaking love it. That's why I'm pumped to have these conversations, because I was like, yeah, exactly. And you're so busy doing all of that stuff so that you can deserve or like reach the status level of which you can start enjoying life finally. And that never comes because none of that's real. And then when you finally start, recovering and healing your relationship with food and not persisting on exercising all the time, you get this time back that you then fill with those things that you thought you weren't going to be able to do until you had recovered. It's so weird.
Yeah, it is. Like, I would go to the extremes pre-recovery of packing a ton of food whenever I would stay any place. I would scour menus before we would go places. If I knew that an event was coming, that, you know, decadent food was going to be there, I would make sure that I got a workout in so that I could earn those meals or earn those treats. And ladies who are listening, please, you do not need to earn your food. You being a living, breathing human being is your right to eat food. And that's the thing, is like this mindset, like I said, most of my clients want to have the hopes of becoming a mother, and that is like their main goal. So changing your mindset before going into pregnancy, I think, is a very, very important thing, because your body is going to undergo so many changes and you need to be okay with that. You know that you're going to need to gain weight. You know that that is what's healthy for you and your baby. So being okay with that and being very inclusive with, you know, eating healthy fats and eating carbohydrates is not only going to be super beneficial to you, but your little tiny human that you're growing. You can't, I always thought of it when I was going through recovery as gaining weight, just acting like I was already pregnant.
Mm.
I was pretending that I was already pregnant because I knew I was going to have to gain weight when I got pregnant.
Work out, like if you are going to exercise like a pregnant woman would, like she's kind of preparing for labor. That's
exactly.
It.
Like I knew I wanted to have a healthy, active pregnancy, but I wanted it to be balanced. I didn't want it to be obsessive. So that's why I worked really hard, really, really hard to recover my period. And I know a lot of people, they always ask, okay, well, how much weight? But I want you all to know that it's very individual. Mm-hmm. Some people, it comes back in a matter of weeks. Mm-hmm. Some people, it takes months to a year. Like it just all depends how it goes. And once I found Nicola Rinaldi's book, No Period, Now What? I was like, holy macaroni. Like this is me to a T. I am over exercising, I'm under eating, I'm burnt out, I'm stressed. I need to fix this. But her approach of going all in scared the crap out of me. And I sort of attempted it, but I didn't do it. I did not go all in.
Yeah, same.
I had to take baby steps because that's what worked for me. And I feel like you do need to find what works for you. Otherwise, your mind is just going to be in the gutter because you're like, oh my God, 2,500 calories a day, no movement. I'm just going to lay on my couch and watch Netflix and eat fries and burgers and ice cream and feel really bad about myself. So I was like,
it's like replacing one stress with another stress.
Exactly.
Doesn't really feel as helpful all the time. Yeah.
No, not at all. So that's when instead of working out 7 days a week, okay, maybe I dropped it down to 5 and took definite weekends off. And I didn't work out for an hour. I'd work out for 30 minutes. And I just focused on decreasing all of those things with my exercise and then increasing my food intake. So maybe it would start with half a cup of rice at dinner and, you know, being okay with going on a bagel date with my husband over the weekend or going out for ice cream. And like I said, it was those small changes that helped not only my mind, but my body to realize, okay, like she's going to start feeding me again and she's going to relax more. And I think that finding your way to recover, as long as you're making a consistent effort to recover, is what's going to help you have like a more sustainable approach to recovery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell me a bit more about, okay, you got to this point where you're like, I'm ready to have baby. I'm married.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, like I'm married. I have this husband. We're ready to start a family. I don't have a period. So that's when you decided to start addressing it. So and you just kind of explained, I wasn't ready to go like all in. You started to wean off exercise and build up your food. So what else was like, what were the mental struggles? Tell me about like conversations you had with your husband and how he supported you, or people in your life. Like, did you share about it? What worked, what didn't work?
For a long time, I guess you could say I suffered in silence. Mm-hmm. I knew that there was something wrong. I knew that women were supposed to have their period. I just didn't know really why I wasn't getting mine and how to fix it. So the realization that something was wrong was in college, because I can remember my dad came to visit me in college and he was like, I'm worried about you. Like, you're tiny and I know how you are with food. It's really restrictive. And I would get so mad when my parents would be like, we're worried about you. Like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, like I'm freaking healthy. I'm working out and eating clean. That's it. And so in the back of my mind, I was like, geez, like if my parents are worried, then maybe there really is something wrong. And I'll, put this out there. My parents are so supportive. Like, I love them. They're my rock. They're my everything. I love my family, but I didn't want to talk about it. And I didn't want to talk about it with anybody. So I did research, tried to figure it out. And let's see, the mental struggles of actually going through recovery were very challenging. I just didn't want to go out in public because I woke up and I was like, not feeling this body today. Like, I'd rather just stay home. And, working on eating more, there were days that I would feel bad about my body and then want to go back to my old habits of restricting. And there were definitely days where I did do that. And I did dive back into, exercise. I would just be like, oh, F it. Like, I'm not getting pregnant. My period's not coming back. This is stressful. And I don't like the way I feel in my body. I'm very uncomfortable. And I had those setbacks. And I will fully admit that, because I do believe that progress isn't linear at all. It was very up and down. And as I kept incorporating more fear foods, less exercise, and I started gaining life, that's when recovery did get easier, because I saw how much I was missing out on. I was able to just sit by the pool with my family, have a drink, have some chips if I wanted them, and enjoy it. Enjoy the time with my family, enjoy the food choices I was making at the time, and make memories. And that's definitely one of my biggest things that is like a hashtag on all my Instagram photos is memories over calories. Because for so long, I lived a life of restriction. I did tell my husband about my struggles after years of struggling. And
so he was in the docket for this for a little bit.
Yes, he was.
Can you just share, before you do,
do
you have any idea what it was that was making you not want to say this out loud?
I did not want to say the words, I think I have an eating disorder, or like disordered eating. I did not want to be associated with that. I did not want that to be a label for me.
Okay.
And
because you identified for so long with being very the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
So I didn't want that at all. And like even saying those words out loud, but those were the exact words that I used when I did tell him. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I should see somebody. Maybe I should seek out some help, because I've been at this whole recovery-ish thing for a while. And I don't know, I feel like I need support. And obviously he's not a coach or a medical professional or anything like that. So he was like, hey, whatever you need to do. He was very supportive. I did have 2 sessions with a nutritionist. And the first one was groundbreaking because, and it wasn't like an eating disorder specialist or anything. It was just like, a local nutritionist. Mm-hmm. And she did this test that was like measured your VO2 and how many calories your body requires just like to live and at rest.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was super interesting. And like I said, I was eating probably between 900 and 1,200 calories a day. And I was very meticulous, tracked everything. And so when I did that test, it came back that just to survive, to live, and keep my body running, it was 1,800 calories. And I was like, holy crap.
Oh, so you're kind of dying.
Yeah. Basically slowly dying for sure.
I'm sorry, anyone listening, or that might be you, but you might be
slowly dying. Yeah, you are slowly killing yourself. And at the cost of what? To be in a smaller body, to not take up as much space? Like, no, let's not. And so that was the moment that the light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my God, like I can actually enjoy food. Like I need to eat more. I mean, also, I just want to touch on, because I know that there's probably women who did the same thing I did, but there was definitely dark times where I would eat something that I deemed not healthy, or I would eat something like a protein mug cake and not be able to stop and make another one and have spoonfuls of peanut butter with it. And I would, regardless of what time it was, and regardless of what time I had to get up the next morning, I would force myself to go exercise to burn it off. I would go to the local gym if they were open. I would, when my husband and I lived in our first apartment together, he was on a different shift, a crazy shift where he would have to get up at midnight to go to work. And I remember him laying in bed, and I went balls to the wall with dessert. And then I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? Mm-hmm. And he was sleeping. I left and I went for like a 2-hour walk and just kept walking and walking and walking. And this is like 8 o'clock at night. It was a summer night, so it was still kind of bright, but it
sticks out in your memory as a what the F moment. Like,
yeah, seriously, like what was I doing? What in the world was I doing? But yes, so the first step in my recovery, I would say, was acknowledging that I had a problem, and then doing my own research to learn that I needed to eat more, exercise less, lower my stress, and then visiting with that nutritionist, even though it was 2 to 3 sessions that I had with her. Like I said, they were very eye-opening. And definitely, I would say, finding your why as to why you want to recover is so important. I just, like I said, I knew 100% my biggest dream in life was to be a mom. And babies, like, you can't do that if you don't have a period.
Yeah.
I should mention also, when I was in college and I started seeing my now husband, I went on birth control. And so I was getting a synthetic period for, I think I was on that for about 4 years. And then we got married, and probably a couple months before we got married, because I still knew that I had an issue, I took myself off of it, knowing that I wasn't going to get a period back. And I was like, all right, here we go. Like, let's try, let's see what happens. Took myself off, no period. So full on, it was 9 years without my body making a period, from the time that I was a senior in high school till the time I was in the real world, working, my job and getting married and thinking about having a family.
Nice. 9 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
But
you did eventually get there, which is pretty cool. So is it safe to say you persevered through the hard times, kept on track, and just eventually got a period finally? Or was there something else significant that you think may have contributed to getting through it?
I think that it was a bunch of different things that I did, but I did them when I was ready. So like I said, I started eating more, exercising less, little by little. And then I left my job at the gym. I was a personal trainer. And I just kind of started not moving away from that, but I wasn't working that job. My boss wasn't the greatest, so it was kind of stressful. And I just wasn't happy there anymore. My clients made me happy, but not like actually the job and being there. So I left and did personal training on the side, but it was definitely a lot better for me because I didn't have access to a gym every day. And I believe that definitely played a big part in my recovery, along with letting go of the stress of having a boss and having to answer to him. And then it took me, I believe, 10 months to get my first recovery period. And then after that, you're not recovered. Like, you still need to implement the practices that you've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So don't go making changes of, okay, like I can run again or I can work out again.
I did do that.
I did too. I did too. I think we all do. We're like, yay, period. It means I can go back to
Never works. I don't
Yeah.
know anyone where that's worked.
So you live and you learn. But yeah. So then, periods. Okay. So they were not regular, like at all. Like, it would maybe be 3 months and then I would get some spotting, and then another 5 months and maybe I'd get a period, and they were very sporadic. So my body, before I even got pregnant, was never regular. So the journey to get pregnant was very frustrating. I cried a lot. I felt very hopeless at many times. I was like, oh my God, here we go again. It's not going to happen. Because you just constantly wonder, like, am I doing what's right? Am I feeding my body enough? Am I exercising, in a balance that's okay for my body? So yeah, I was in a constant state of wondering. And then I learned that you can get a period and not ovulate. And I was like, oh, come on.
Okay. These
Like,
are called anovulatory cycles.
Yes. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so that's when I went and bought OPKs, which are ovulation predictor kits. And I was testing every day, and I was taking my temperature and trying to figure this out. And honestly, it stressed me out. My husband and I, started to do the whole baby dancing thing, if that's what you want to call it. You know what I mean, ladies. And it became not fun. It became scheduled and stressed us out even more. So that's when we stopped with the OPKs, ovulation predictor kits, and just kind of started living life and winging it and just like enjoying our time together. And I think that also plays a very large role in, it's not a determining factor if you're going to get pregnant, but I think it's a lot easier when you're not stressing about it, as with anything else. Stress is
hear so many stories of people, and maybe they did or didn't have in general, people who struggle with fertility, you hear a lot of people say, when we finally stopped trying, it worked, which is incredible.
Yes. And it got to the point, so I tried 1 round of Clomid, and we did not get pregnant off of that cycle. I went to the doctor to get my 2nd round. And in that time, before I started that 2nd round, I got pregnant. So I was just like, holy crap, I did it. Like, I did it on my own. I didn't need Clomid. Like I said, we were going in for that 2nd round and I was going to give it a try. And I took a test after we came back from vacation. This was after like really enjoying myself, really relaxing, eating sweet potato fries, having burgers, going out for ice cream like every night, and just chilling with my husband. And it was fantastic. Came home pregnant.
Love it. That's so exciting to me. I totally want to hear about your, like, I guess, first 20 days, or like how you figured out that you were pregnant. But I'm just curious as well. So you started eating the things, you were enjoying your holiday as much as you can. Did your husband did you gain some weight by this point? You've gained weight?
I don't know if you want me to mention numbers. I don't know if that's triggering. If I shouldn't mention it, that's totally okay.
It's a common question from a lot of people. And I think, and tell me what you think, because you're my first story interview so far. Mm-hmm. I know that numbers are triggering for people with EDs. One of the things I'm pretty sure I'm going to find over the course of this series is how wildly different it can be for so many people, which almost proves a point in itself, maybe. And for me, I didn't have an eating disorder. I just had eating disorder tendencies, but it is helpful to me. And so we're always going to find that. It's going to be helpful to some people and not helpful to others. So, hey guys, if this is going to be triggering to you, hit the skip 15 seconds button now.
Okay, go. So it was helpful for me. I started my journey at 109 pounds when I was in high school. I'm 5'6". By the end of my recovery, I gained 31 pounds. And that's when my cycle came back. I got up to, started this journey at 109 and was up to 156, 157.
And you're a tall person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me, it took that weight, yeah, to start cycling again. And I will let you know, it did, that whole comfort zone set point theory of your body and its weight, I didn't change anything. And my body did naturally start to lose weight. So when we did conceive, I was, I think, anywhere from 137 to 140. And so going into pregnancy, how did I know I was pregnant? Like what? Oh, also, like, let's talk about signs that you know your period is coming. So cervical mucus, it's just a wonderful thing. That's how you're going to track it. That was the biggest helpful indicator to me, was when my body started producing that lovely cervical mucus. And I was like, oh, good. It's good to see you. Like, my period might be coming this month.
I remember that too. I was like, oh yeah, that, I forgot.
Yeah. So TMI, I know, but like, I know all you ladies.
No, it needs to be normalized for sure. Is it, in fact, yeah, like one of my signs for knowing my period was coming, that I was going to get my first one post ovulation. Yeah, like my first period ever after years of HA was seeing cervical mucus. It was a sign of ovulation. So
yes,
it's a positive thing.
It's such a positive thing. And then I was like super emotional, you know, like we usually are, and tired. I was very tired, and usually my lower back kind of starts to ache. And there were months where I would get these signs but not get a period. And then eventually I would get these signs and a period showed up. So that was very exciting. And then knowing that I was pregnant, so the week before we went on vacation was the week that I had a mental breakdown. I remember standing in our hallway, crying to my husband that I was never going to get pregnant. I was never going to be able to give us kids. And we ended up doing the thing a couple times before we left for vacation. And I can remember on our flight to Florida, I felt weird. I felt different, but I was like, no. And so all through Florida, we were there. My biggest indicator was two things. I had to pee so much. Like we would go for a 10-minute walk and I literally would have to pee so many times. We were at the beach where there was no bathrooms, you know, close by. And we would go for a walk and I'd be like, I need to pee again. Like, we have to do something. We have to go somewhere. And he was like, what is your deal? Like, you need to stop drinking. I'm like, I'm literally not drinking that much. And then second indicator was my boobs swelled up really quickly. And I was like, oh, this is nice because I'm very flat chested. I'm tiny. And I was like, I don't know, maybe it's this new push-up suit I got. Like, I don't know.
You're just in such denial at the, like, that this could be happening.
For real. And I didn't tell him anything at all or like what my thoughts were because I didn't want to disappoint him too.
Yeah, I know that. And you also don't want to sound psycho because if it happens again, because I feel like every time I have a period, I have the weirdest, my period, I get like pregnancy symptoms. My boobs swell up every time and they're super sore. I have to pee all the time. I always feel weird and have like lower back aches. So I'm just pregnant every month.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I don't want to say anything just in case because we're trying. And yeah, but I just don't say anything to anyone because he'll just start ignoring me if I say I'm pregnant every month.
I know. So then when we came home, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a test. I took a test. It was negative. I took another test the next day. It was negative. I took a test for the whole
so expensive.
Negative. And I was so sad. So that's when we came back, that week following, I had a appointment with my OB. And that's when we were going to try Clomid again. She was like, I told her how I was feeling. I was like, I feel weird. She's like, it's still actually kind of early. So maybe just get the Clomid, hold on to it, and test at least 3 more times. So you can bet your bottom dollar I was definitely testing like every freaking day. And then I remember the date. It was May 24th, which was the date that my grandfather who passed away, that's his birthday. And we are very close. We're very close. And I was like, oh my God, I found out on his birthday that I'm pregnant. And I cried. I was like, oh my God, this is not happening. And then of course, now you have this little human in you and you're like, oh my God, okay, now what do? I don't want to lose it. And I know coming from the background that I did, I was like, oh my gosh, like are miscarriage rates higher with me? Am I more susceptible to that happening? I better really cool it and like really relax and just eat whatever I wanted, whatever was necessary. And yeah, so that's the story of how I knew I was pregnant. And
cool. And I'd love to add in that, yeah, there is no evidence that getting pregnant post-HA increases the chances of complications in pregnancy, which is really cool, even in women who get pregnant off their first ovulation and haven't even had a bleed yet. So FYI, people. All right, but tell me, during the recovery process, what did your husband think about your, change in eating habits, your weight gain? How did he behave? What was his vibe?
Okay, so he was great. Like we were enjoying so much more time together. And once he knew that like I kind of was struggling with food and stuff, he would be the one to be like, hey, what kind of Ben & Jerry's you want? And I'd be like, oh, anything with like cookie pieces in it or brownie pieces in it. And we would have pint dates. We would sit on the couch, split a pint, watch our TV show. And by continuously doing little things like that, that's where the guilt started to go away. I wouldn't go to bed and feel bad about myself. I would go to bed with feeling good because I just made memories and like it was super tasty and enjoyable. And then in regards to my changing body, ladies, oh my goodness, please don't worry about it because my husband was so much more attracted to me. And I was like, what? Like, I'm not attracted to myself. What's going on? But he was like, yo, give me that. And I was like, I'm sort of uncomfortable about it because, yeah, my belly was bigger. It was mushier. My thighs were jigglier. But he liked it. And so just embrace that new you, babes. Like, for real. It's not that bad.
This is very consistent feedback. So that's why I asked you. I wasn't worried at all about the answer. I love that. And even with the guilt going away thing, a part of that for me, and I wonder if this was for you as well, what makes it easier is because you're practicing. So the first time it's really hard, and then you wake up in the morning and you're actually looking for problems and you're scared. You're like, okay, did I die? Did I blow up? Did I just somehow just gain a never-ending amount of weight overnight? And it doesn't happen, and it doesn't happen, and it continues to not happen. So you start realizing like the consequences to this are quite low. The negative consequences. The positive consequences are very high. And the goal anyway is to gain some weight over time. So that's going to happen over time, but it's not going to happen overnight. So as you're gaining weight, you're even like getting used to it. Your mind is calibrating at the same time. At no point are you going to wake up and be shocked and just like fall over. It's not really like that.
No. And that's a very important point that you make is I kept doing these little experiments with myself where we would go out on our bagel date, knowing that I was probably eating, 600 calories in a meal. And then I would weigh myself the next day. Nothing changed. Like I would go out, have whatever I craved at a restaurant, always something to do with sweet potato fries because I love them. And nothing changed. Nothing changed at all. Like one meal is not going to make you fat at all. Okay. Like our bodies they change daily just because, hello, we're women. salt retention, water retention, things like that, where you are in your cycle, your stress, your sleep, like all those things play a factor. You can't just blame your food choices for that. So yeah, like that was a huge, super cool realization that I could really, truly eat whatever I wanted and it wasn't going to make a difference.
Yeah, I love it. And that's why we're having these conversations, because the only conversations we've ever heard are, I mean this in its most literal sense, cult-like brainwashing, where we think we have to be a certain weight to be at a certain status in society. We have to be a certain weight to be loved and admired and to be classified as healthy. So we need to be talking about how those things are just untrue, and how we all have anecdotal and tangible evidence that it's just the opposite. Our husbands are more attracted to us. We're able to have healthy cycles and periods. We're able to get pregnant. Nobody stops loving us, and we get more of our life back. And those are all clear evidence that dramatically outweighs how it feels to live in a restricted state and to not have a period. And you were talking about your why earlier, and yours was to have a baby. And mine was because for me, every time I heard like the long-term side effects to your bone health, potential osteoporosis, like I was so focused on how I looked that I would forget about those symptoms. And then I would come across them in the literature or listening to another expert. And then I would have this like spike of remembrance. Like, that's my why. Oh my God, I could die or like become frail, or the opposite of health, the opposite of what I think I need to be doing this. And we need to be talking about it all the time to help rid us of what we've heard 100 million times, that losing weight is the be all and end all.
Right. Because it's not at all.
So now you have a beautiful baby girl.
Yes.
Congrats.
Thank you very much. Best job I've ever had.
Yeah. But you have, so I think that you're coaching now.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So I work with women to help rebalance their hormones, also develop food freedom in, their hopes of becoming a mom, getting pregnant, just healing that relationship before you start a new one with a child in it, because it's going to change a lot. And like I said, I'm very, very glad that I made recovery a priority before having my daughter. Actually, after I gave birth to her, I dropped a ton of weight really fast, and I didn't understand why. I went back down to 118 pounds, and I was like, oh no. I don't know. I was like, I do not want to revisit this. I've been there and I need to start gaining weight. So like now I hop on the scale and I'm, I don't know, like 137 or whatever. So back up to my weight of when I conceived. I'm still waiting on my first postpartum period. I'm still new to that and trying to figure it out. But my lifestyle has changed dramatically since, post or pre-baby Amber to now. I only work out 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, during her first nap of the day. That's my me time. That's my time where I make my health a priority. And the rest of the days of the week, I go for walks or hang out with her, take her for a stroll and things like that. But there is no more of this 7 days a week working out. Like, I do what I can in the time that she naps. And if she happens to wake up during a workout, like, I don't freak out that I'm not finishing it or that she's awake and there.
Right. You're way more fluid.
Yes. And the old me would have been like, oh, no, like, she's sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting her until I'm done with my workout. And if you're a mother, like, it can't work that way. Like, your baby probably needs you at that time. So you need to be much more flexible. And in regards to like my eating, some nights I don't have the time to do things. And sometimes it's easier to just make a box of pasta for me and my husband, and it's okay. Like, that's okay. And just like eating what you crave at the times that you want it and just living a free, happy life. Like, that is, don't you want to live a life you enjoy?
Yeah.
Including the foods that you want to eat, you know, while enjoying your time with your family, loved ones, friends, whatever it is.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? That feeling when you're going from teenagehood, living with your parents, into adulthood, and you're making your own money, and you're like, oh, I can go out without asking permission.
Yes.
Like, me and my cousin, one time we went to the movies and it was Easter. And in Australia, Easter is a way bigger deal than it is in the States. And there's like chocolate Easter eggs all over the stores, everywhere. And it's like, that's when you're a kid, your parents buy you that and you get one for the year. And we're just like, but we have our own money and we could literally just buy an Easter egg and eat it right now. And we did. And I don't know why that sticks in my memory as this like realization that I'm free to do whatever I actually freaking want if I really want to. And there's not really any consequences. And we're stuck in this mode that there's consequences, but there's not. You're actually free to live this one life on earth, and we got to pay taxes and have a job and do a lot of stuff we don't really want to do, but there's a lot of things that you do get to do, and this is one of them. So just like go have a good time.
For sure. For sure.
I can't thank you enough for sharing your story with us today. I think it's just really inspiring. I loved going off in different directions with you. Where can people find more from you?
You can find me on Instagram at fitness with Amber. So those are fitness_with_Amber. And I do lay out my whole story there. I'm also on YouTube with Confessions of a Fit Girl.
Oh, cool. Me too. I'm going to have to subscribe.
I tell my whole story on there. And so those are the places you can find me. And I'm consistently putting out content for you all.
Thank you. I'll link to all of that in the show notes, y'all, so you don't have to remember all by heart. Thank you, Amber. Have an amazing day.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so great chatting with you all.
Thank you so much for listening today, guys. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you could head to iTunes specifically and leave a rating or review, that would help so much because it makes it easier for other people with HA who are Googling around to find the podcast really easily. So if you do that, you're doing a service to all of the women